Hey watercolor wizards, Hajra here. One of my recent Twitch live streams was about painting Tiffany stained glass in watercolor. Again, I've sped up and voice overed the footage. If you want to watch this in real time with a live Q&A and original audio, go to my Twitch account while it's still available on the Twitch website. Twitch only leaves live streams up for 2 weeks before deleting them, just so you know. I found an old Tiffany Peacock glass window reference, and I drew it out rather meticulously, then inked it with a waterproof Zig pigment marker. I used the thin tip initially, but I went back later and re-inked with the thicker tip of the marker because it read better as the lead lining or seams between the stained glass tiles we were emulating. Again, it'll take some time to do the drawing and then to ink it, but you can draw one day, ink the second day, and paint a third day if you want to divide it up. And it's nice to have some hand-drawn and inked pieces ready for painting, sort of like DIY coloring book pages on your watercolor paper or journal of choice. Stained glass is a great subject to try and paint in watercolor along with any other glass subject like a vase or decanter or marbles or crystal cup or decoration piece. All of these are excellent watercolor painting subjects. The glass reflects, separates, and transmits light and reflections very beautifully. And the transparent, luminous nature of watercolor is a perfect fit for that. It's probably the best medium for painting glass because watercolor is compared to stained glass layers when it's applied in glazes, and so it'll give the look of stained glass naturally without much work. Louis Comfort Tiffany was an American artist and designer who lived between 1848 to 1933, and he was another artist emblematic of the Art Nouveau movement. He is known for his famous stained glass windows and lamps, but he also designed and created interiors, glass mosaics, blown glass, ceramics, jewelry, ornaments, metalwork, and decorative furnishings. He also did some lovely paintings during his travels, and he was the first design director for the famous Tiffany's jewelry store founded by his father, so he's quite a diverse and prolific artist. Stained glass painting might seem like an intimidating prospect, but it's actually a wonderfully fun and uncomplicated watercolor project. The inked drawing to show the lead outlines for the stained glass pieces takes care of a lot of the work, and the only technique used for the colors is wet into wet color blends where the transparent mixing and blooms and blurred edges give effects that mimic the glass's melted, streaky, blended hues. I used 4 Gansai Tambi pan colors, a dark pink, a cool green, a cool blue, and a mid-yellow for this painting. One color is applied juicy and wet to a part of one section, and then a second and maybe third color are added right next to the first color, and it allows them to mix along their edges, which will be softly blended right on the paper. This is really fun because you don't have to fight the blooms and bleeds. You want them, so just let them happen. And the final stained glass look is very impressive looking. Watercolor wet into wet for a stained glass piece really is a match made in heaven. The only tricky part would be using too much or too little water. Too much water will cause thin color blends to mix too much and just become one color, and too little water will give scratchy edges. Aim for a juicy color that blends with adjacent color charged in but does not run into it completely and make mud or right out of your tile into other tiles. So using this juicy mid-density paint, you can see that I have feathers and leaves that have some green, some yellow, and some blue, or some dark pink, orange, yellow, and violet in soft-edged, clean transitions. And remember to do glass sections that are not touching so adjacent wet tiles don't bleed into each other. The colors will lighten a bit as watercolors tend to as they dry, and since this is a less expensive brand, it'll fade even more. So to get the color intensity or darkness of value you see in your reference, wait for a color section to dry completely, then come back and add a second layer and perhaps third layer of the same colors used in each tile. I'm doing this in a moleskin watercolor journal with Gansai Tambi watercolor pans, but as with any painting, this would be even prettier and easier to paint with better materials like my Arches watercolor paper and Schmincke or Sennelier paints. This is a good project for cheaper journal paper though, because the water only goes down in small tile sections and there's little warping and the reduced sizing doesn't hold you back here. It's not a painting with a huge amount of layers or large heavy water washes. I re-inked thicker black lines to better imitate stained glass lead seams, and the rest of the tiles are painted in the same way with little wet into wet blended color sections. The final piece is vibrant and luminous, and the many color blended tiles really give it a stained glass vibe. I hope you try doing a fun ink and watercolor Tiffany stained glass painting of your own, and if you want more stained glass projects, check out one of my older videos where I did a Tiffany stained glass butterfly piece with metallic gelatos. As always, thanks for parking your brushes here. Please comment, subscribe, and check out my website links below. And until next time, epic art adventures.